Padidana Pavanebhyo Vaishnaveभ्यो Namo Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnaprishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamine Dinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyati Deshitaye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we'll start with 9.1 to 10 today. Okay, so very important chapter, Raja Vidya, Raja Hrutyam. Yeah, so chapter 9 verse 1 to 3 is about hearing the most confidential knowledge about Krishna, that's qualification and disqualifications, and 4 to 10 is about the Aishwarya Jnana, the Krishna's relationship with this world. So this is Raja Vidya, Raja Hrutyam, right? So why is this chapter named like that? The king of knowledge or the king of secrets, Hrutyam. Yes, Biju Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
This could be because when we talk about knowledge, people might have some scientific knowledge or knowledge which is more materialistic, but we may not have the knowledge of our own existence or soul. So I think in this chapter, that's how it is covered again.
Okay. And yeah, so that is
knowledge, basically.
Right. But why is it king of knowledge? King of knowledge. Suma Mataji?
It is the ultimate knowledge, Mataji.
Ultimate knowledge, yes, told by Lord Krishna. What is it about? This chapter about?
The transcendental knowledge about God.
About Krishna, and then in the 9th chapter he says about more about Bhakti Yoga, no? And also the most confidential knowledge is 9 point, which is the sloka in this chapter, which is the most confidential.
9.2.
Raja Vidya, Raja
9.34.
9.26 Mataji. 9.34. What is it, Mataji? Sharmila Mataji.
Manmana Bhava Madbhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskaru Mame Vaishyasi Yukto Evam
Atmana Matparayana.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, so that's the most confidential knowledge. That's the last sloka of this chapter, 9.34. That means there are 18 chapters, and 9.34 is 9th chapter is exact middle of the 18th chapter. And in that, the 34th sloka, the last sloka, Krishna kept it in the middle, like a secret, because that's the essence of Bhagavad Gita. The most confidential knowledge is Manmana Bhava Madbhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mame Vaishyasi Yuktaivam Atmana Matparayanaha. Manmana, think about Krishna. Madbhakto, become Krishna's devotee. Matbhakto, it is not anyone else bhakta. Then Madhyaji, worship Krishna. Mam Namaskuru, offer obeisances to Krishna. When we do that, we'll definitely go back to Krishna. So that's the most confidential knowledge. So that's Raja Bhukyam. And Raja Vidya, yes, it's the transcendental knowledge. It's the king of all the knowledge. Because Lord Krishna is giving that secret how to go back to him. So this chapter is very important, 9th chapter. The chapter summary is, Prabhupada says Lord Krishna is the supreme Godhead and the supreme object of worship. The soul is eternally related to him through transcendental devotional service, that is Bhakti. By reviving one's pure devotion, one returns to Krishna and the spiritual realm. So we all were devotees, but then Maya covered us, right? How do we revive that lost consciousness? What is the process? I mean, what is the best way in devotional service? Best
Bhakti.
way? Yeah,
By chanting.
Chanting. Before chanting
And Smaranam.
Yeah.
Surrender. Obeisance is not present.
Everything. Before chanting, before surrender, what is the first thing to do? Shravanam. Yeah, who said that? Akshay Prabhu?
Reddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Prabhu. Yeah. Shravanam. First is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Shravanam, hearing. Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti Sadhika Banai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Karayotai. It's not possible to awake Krishna Bhakti in anybody unless they hear about Krishna. Shravana. We have 2 years. First you hear about Krishna. Then you chant, or you have a Shiksha Guru, somebody who tells about Krishna. So Shravanam is very important. That revives our pure consciousness. So Krishna concluded chapter 8 by saying how a pure devotee solely fixed on performing Ananya Bhakti, that is pure devotional service unto him, surpasses the path of Jnanis and Yogis and Karmis. And in this chapter, Krishna explained how to become a pure devotee or Ananya Bhakti. So here, the chapter 2 to 6 is knowledge about matter and spirit. That's confidential, Guhya. 7 to 8 is knowledge about Bhakti. That's more confidential, Guhyatara. And chapter 9 is knowledge on Kevala Bhakti, most confidential, Guhyatama. So this Bhagavad Gita have three things: Guhya, Guhyatara, Guhyatama. Confidential, more confidential, most confidential. So what is the confidential knowledge we learned in chapter 2? It's a confidential knowledge.
Not the body, I am the
We are
soul.
not this body. We are not this body, we are spirit soul. That's the confidential knowledge of Guhya. That's the first lesson in Bhagavad Gita, that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. That's confidential. More confidential is Guhyatara. What is more confidential?
We are all part and parcel of
Parcel
Krishna.
of Krishna.
Yes, we are part and parcel of Krishna. Yes, and we are eternal servant of Krishna. And what is the most confidential? Guhyatama.
By devotional service, we can reach
Devotional
Krishna.
service, yeah. Only by devotional service can you reach Krishna. Manmana bhava, mat bhakto, madhyaji mam namaskar. So these are the three important lessons in Bhagavad Gita: Guhyam, Guhyatara, Guhyatamam. Confidential, more confidential, most confidential. Confidential or Guhya means we are spirit soul, not this body. Guhyatara, more confidential is we are part and parcel of Krishna, and as servant we have to serve Krishna. And the most confidential is we have to do devotional service to the Lord. That is the most confidential knowledge. That's what this chapter is, the most confidential knowledge. So there are some similarities where it says the flow of thoughts and concepts discussed in both the chapters. Again, in chapter 7 and 9 also it states about hearing about Krishna. Then later on it says about Krishna's energy and his relationship with material world. Krishna has all pervasiveness, and demigod worship versus Krishna worship, and impersonalists versus devotees. When Prabhupada used to be there, he used to tell the devotees to act, do role play. That some people should be Mayavadis, some will become devotees. So sometimes Prabhupada used to become devotee and Prabhupada wins, normally, definitely. And when Prabhupada become Maya,
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, we could not
Hare
hear
Krishna.
for a few minutes.
Yes, Mataji. There was a break in your audio.
Hare Krishna, sorry, I had some network.
Yes, yes. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yeah. So hearing about Krishna is very important. That is 9.1 to 3 is about that. 2 qualifications required to hear the knowledge is non-enviousness and faith. Okay. Non-enviousness and faith. So Arjuna have both these qualities. Faithlessness forces one to return to the path of birth and death in the material world. Okay. So 9.1, most confidential knowledge. Sri Bhagavan Vaja idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyami anisuyave jnanam vijnanam sahitam yajnatva mokshase ashubha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. So, qualification to achieve the most confidential knowledge is non-enviousness and faith. Okay, so Arjuna was non-envious of Krishna, and he had a lot of faith in Krishna. So that's why Krishna is speaking this most confidential knowledge to Arjuna. Oh, I was saying about that got cut. Yeah, when Prabhupada used to take the role of a Mayavadi, and the devotees used to be like devotees only in role play, still Prabhupada used to win. Why? Because Prabhupada had so much points to defeat the devotees on Mayavadis. So that's how a real preacher should be. Like he can defeat Mayavatism and he can be a Mayavadi and defeat others also. So that's why Prabhupada was perfect in that. Okay, and this knowledge is of pure bhakti is about hearing about Krishna, chanting his glories, remembering and serving him. That culminates in direct realization of Krishna. What will happen when we know this? Hear about Krishna, be relieved of all material miseries. Shrinvata Sukata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Hridayandastavad Dhani Vidurodi Sural Sadam. When we hear about Krishna, what happens? All our material miseries gets vanished. Okay, so that's why it's important to hear from the right source. Prabhupada writes in the purport, a devotee hears more and more about the Supreme Lord, he becomes enlightened. More and more you hear, more and more Shravanam is required. And how do you increase the taste of hearing? How do you increase taste in Krishna Katha? How do you get that taste? What is the best way? Bhagavatam explains. How do you have Vasudeva Katha Ruchi?
Sadhu Sangha, Mataji.
Sadhu Sangha, okay. Yes, in Sadhu Sangha, what do you do?
Kirtanam.
Yes,
Listening from Acharyas.
Huh?
Listening from Acharyas.
Receiving from Acharyas, but yes, what should we do? We should do something. Yes,
Talk about,
We have to
talking
surrender.
about Krishna, Mataji.
talking about before that, first we should have taste in hearing, no? Or some class is happening. You should have that the taste to hear. How do you develop that taste? By hearing. Before hearing, we should have something to hear, no?
The faith, Mataji.
Chanting, Mataji.
Faith, chanting. Mataji,
Desire.
Madhu Mataji said something. Sadhu Sangha, right? In Sadhu Sangha, what do you do?
Service attitude.
Age of mind,
Serving
Mataji, in Krishna.
Or Sharmila Mataji?
Serving the pure devotee.
Serving the pure devotees. Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra. Shushrusha Shraddhanasya Vasudeva Katha Ruchi. Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Shlogani Shevanat. I don't remember the verse, but Bhagavatam explains to hear, to have the taste for hearing. Vasudeva Katha Ruchi. If you want to have the taste of hearing, Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipram. You have to serve a pure devotee. Who's a pure devotee now? Do you know any pure devotee who we can serve?
Srila Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada. Definitely. Srila Prabhupada. And how do you serve him?
Or
Vani
Mira
Seva.
Mataji.
By
By
reading and distributing his
Vani
books.
Seva Mataji.
yeah, Vani Seva. So Vani Seva, by reading Prabhupada's book, by distributing Prabhupada's book, by preaching Krishna consciousness. Definitely this is Prabhupada's Vani Seva. Prabhupada says to distribute books and distribute Bhagavad Gita knowledge, right? So, Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra, by serving pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada, our Guru Jans, all Guru Maharaj, all Prabhupada's disciples, when we do that, what happens? The taste for hearing increases. Then we can hear more and more. Okay, then the more and more we hear, the more and more the taste increases. But that initially we should do service to pure devotees. Then we'll be able to serve, hear more. So as a devotee hears more and more about the Lord, he becomes enlightened. This hearing process is recommended in Bhagavatam. The message of the Supreme Personality Godhead are full of potencies, and these potencies can be realized if topics regarding the Godhead are discussed among devotees. It has to be discussed among devotees. Mat chitta madgada prana bodhayanda parasparam. Nityam tushyandicha ramandicha. Among devotees. If we discuss with non-devotees, we won't get that taste. And we should not hear from Mayavadis. What does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say about hearing from Mayavadis? Mahaprabhu says not to hear from Mayavadi, right?
We should not mix with them, Mataji, even for a
Not
second.
mix with Asat Sangat Tyage Vaishnavachar. Yes, we should not mix with them. He says Mayavadi Bhashya Shunile Hoya Sarvanash. If we hear from a Mayavadi, the Mayavadi says Krishna doesn't have a form and that and this, then we'll be like, Hoya Sarvanash, everything gets destroyed. So it's like a poisonous snake touching the milk. What will happen? The whole milk will turn poison, right? That verse. Avaishnava mukati namputa bharikatamritam shravanam naiva kartavyam sarpotishtayadataya. Avaishnava, somebody who's not a Vaishnava, and you hear putam harikatamritam, even if it's harikata, but then if it's heard from an Avaishnava, non-Vaishnava, especially Mayavadis, then Sarpotishta yadapa. It's like a milk touched by a serpent. It's fully become poison. So we should never hear from a Mayavadi. We should check from whom we are hearing. They should be in our Sampradaya. They should have taken initiation from our bona fide spiritual master. In coming from the correct parampara should be a bona fide. We are hearing from Srila Prabhupada. These are all Prabhupada's purports and Prabhupada's books. So we can be safe. But don't hear. That's why at least 3 or 4 years. Is there anyone more than 4 years in Krishna consciousness in this class? You can raise a digital hand. More than 4 years? 4 or 5 years? Or 4 years? You've been practicing Krishna consciousness more than 4 years? Chitra Mataji, yes. Who else? Only Chitra Mataji? Okay, so rest everyone, I assume they are all below 4. So if you are below 4 years in Krishna consciousness, every day you should hear Prabhupada's lecture. Every day. First 3 to 4 years of Krishna conscious life is very precious because there's a chance of falling down. There's a chance of mixing with Maya. There's a chance of non-devotee association. There's a chance of not becoming fixed in devotional service. So there's always a chance of risk. So we should always hear a pure devotee, like Srila Prabhupada. We should hear his Vani every day. That's what my seniors have told me. At least first 3-4 years of Krishna conscious life. Every day you should hear, even after that, but still, initial, that basement, we should have a strong foundation. The devotees are constantly engaged in Supreme Lord's service. The Lord understands the mentality and sincerity of a particular living entity who's engaged in Krishna consciousness and give him intelligence to understand the signs of Krishna in the association of devotees. Tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayadite. Discussion of Krishna is very important, and if a fortunate person have such association and try to assimilate the knowledge, then he will surely make advancement towards spiritual realization. What are the 2 benefits of hearing about Krishna? One is spiritual advancement, and another is freedom from material miseries. Prabhupada says one who hears become more and more enlightened, and it's a potent message. Because when pure devotees speak like Srila Prabhupada, they have Krishna in their heart, right? Tumara Hrudaya Sada Govinda Vishram. So when they speak, it is said that speech touches the lotus feet of Krishna and comes out. When we all speak, it's just air, it's just coming from here. It's not coming from here, heart. But when Prabhupada speaks, he's coming from his heart. So that's why it's so potent to hear that discussion. It can change your life. Prabhupada's voice is so transcendental. Okay, so it's a potent message of Supreme Lord. It's full of potency, and how to realize the potency by discussing among devotees, not by associating with mental speculators or scholars, because it's a realized knowledge, right? So Lord, help us to understand. He sees the mentality and sincerity of a particular living entity who's engaged in Krishna consciousness and give him intelligence to understand Krishna. For example, Krishna is telling Arjuna more confidential matters to encourage Arjuna in higher elevations in potent service. Then that is one thing. Spiritually, we can advance as we hear. Second is freedom from material miseries. One who is situated in most confidential knowledge is naturally transcendental, and no material pangs will help him. It is said, Iha yasye harirdase karmana manasa gira nikilesha api avasteshu jivan muktasa uchyati. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says that even in conditional state of material existence, one can be considered liberated if one is sincerely engaged to try to render loving devotional service to the Lord. So anyone engaged is it's considered liberated, already liberated. And that's possible only for a devotee. Okay, so idam jnanam, it is said, that's 9-fold process of devotional service, and by which one's heart becomes cleansed of material contamination, one understands the signs of Krishna consciousness, gets elevated, and one understands the spiritual activities. And it also should be non-envious, anasuya way. Prabhupada says a snake is more, an envious person is more dangerous than a snake. Why? In a snake, sometimes there is an anti-venom. Like if it's less poisonous snakes, if it bites, you can give an antidote for that poison. So they can be controlled. Prabhupada says some herbs, if you make that snake smell, this snake can go unconscious. But then an envious person is not like that. They'll try to destroy you. Most of the time, spiritual envy is more dangerous. When other devotees are advancing, you become envious of others. Right? But then Krishna don't like that. Krishna doesn't like that. So envy is the root of misinterpretation. Prabhupada says envious person can never be happy because you always comparing others. Oh, that girl, that Mataji knows more sloka than me. This Prabhu does more nice kirtan, or that Prabhu does nice cooking. I'm not able to do. We always try to compare with others. No, should never do that. then we'll never be happy. We should always see what we are good at. Okay, I'm not a good singer, I'm not a good kirtani, I'm not a good preacher. At least I can do some nice decoration or I can do some service. So concentrate on your part, then there is no envy. This sets the qualification for anyone who wants to comment on Bhagavad Gita. Unless useless commentaries, like high academic scholars, they give useless commentaries because they are envious. And one who criticizes the character of Krishna without knowing him is foolish. You should avoid such commentaries. And it should be a bona fide commentary, only possible by a devotee. The 9.2 says about the king of knowledge, that is Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshavagavam Dharmam Susukam Kartamavya. It's very easy to perform that particular devotional service. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam. Ganeshan Prabhu just put in the chat what are the slokas to be memorized in this chapter.
Yes, Mataji. I'll do it. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, attendance link is posted. All of you please. Okay, so this knowledge is the king of education, Rajavidya, most secret of all secret, Rajaguhyam. It's the purest knowledge, Pavitram, Idam Uttamam. And because it gives direct perception of self by realization, and it is perfection of religion. It is everlasting and is joyfully performed. Susukam Kartamavya means what? Very joyfully done. So Rajavidya Rajaguhyam, Pavitram Idam Uttamam, Pratyakshavagavam Dharmam Susukam Kartamavya. So Rajavidya is the king of all knowledge, right? Because it's the essence of our philosophy. Rajaguhyam is the king of secrets because it's about external activities of the soul. It's Pavitram, it's purest. It purifies one of all material contamination. So sometimes when Mataji's asked, like, can we read Bhagavad Gita during our monthly periods? Can we chant the holy name during those times? I don't chant because there's a death in the family. I'm like, what are we doing? We should chant more when there is a death in the family, because that soul might get liberated or can get a devotee body next life. We don't know, because we're chanting for that soul. We should do more those days. We should do it more. Why? Because Krishna's holy name, Krishna's Bhagavad Gita are pure. Nothing. It purifies all the material contaminations also. That's why you can chant even in the bathroom, which is the most contaminated place in your house. Still you can chant. Why? Because holy name purifies everything. It's pure. Uttamam, it's transcendental to the darkness or ignorance of this world. Pratyakshavagavam gives direct experience of self by realization, and is perfecter of religion because it's service to the Lord. And Susukam Kartamavya means very easily and joyfully performed. Everlasting, eternal, indestructible. Prabhupada says, what is Krishna consciousness? Feasting and fasting and dancing and what else? No, you chant, there is kirtan, then there's dancing, there is drama, there is what else? There is prasadam. It's festivals and festivals in ISKCON. If you come, there are like so many festivals every month almost, right? So it's joyfully performed actually, this Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada's like, you won't get bored in Krishna consciousness because every day there's new ruchi. It's Rajavidya. This knowledge is the king of education because it's the essence of all the philosophy, and many other philosophers like Gautama, Kannada, Kapila, all of them, they have given commentaries. And there's Vyasadeva also, the author of Vedanta Sutra. It's Rajaguhyam because it's most confidential knowledge, because it talks about the eternal activities of the soul and give you positive information. Just confidential knowledge explains spirit soul as imperishable, but does not give positive information about the soul. Okay, the soul is always active. Modern education system, they deal with only bodily platform. This Bhagavad Gita deals about spirit soul. So it's Pavitram Idamuttam, it's purest of all activities. It purifies the potency of devotional service is so strong. Aprarabdha phalam papam putam bijam phalonmukam pramenaiva praliyate Vishnu Bhakti radatmanam. For those who are engaged in devotional service of Supreme Personality Godhead, all sinful reactions, whether fructified in the stalk or in the form of seeds, gradually vanishes. So papam, whichever papam we did, it's putam, bijam, phalonmukam. Any stage, if the seed, everything gets washed away by devotional service. And it's pavitram. It implies all 4 stages can be purified, and only those purified can engage in devotional service. Yesham to antagadam papam jananam punya karmanam te danda mohanirmuktam musante mam tridavita. Once we get purified, then you can do more devotional service. Okay, so many slokas to memorize in this chapter. This sloka is important. See 9.2. told, Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartamavyam. So many important slogans. 9.26 is Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam. You can learn that. Then 9.27 Yat Karoshi Yat Asnasi Yat Juhoshi Tadasi. So many nice slokas. Manmana Bhavan Bhakta is also one of the important sloka, 9.34. So you can learn these slokas. And Uttamam is beyond Tamam. Okay, devotional service is never contaminated by the modes. Although sometimes devotee appear to be engaged like ordinary men, therefore devotional service is transcendental. You mark the important slokas to learn so that you can practice it. And it's Pratyakshavagama. It's direct perception of self. How one gets direct perception of self? By practicing devotional service in association of advanced devotees. We should practice devotional service in association with devotees only. And by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra without offense, one feels transcendental pleasure and gets purified. That is Shuddha Nam. But we are in Nama Parat stage. It's okay, but we should try. If one further helps in the mission, trying to broadcast the message of devotional service, one makes spiritual progress. Okay, so qualification is advancement is irrespective of the previous qualification or education. Prabhupada says, Prakashasya Karmani Apyashat. Devotional service is very powerful. Simply by engaging, one becomes enlightened, irrespective of qualification. We know how Narad Muni was serving great devotees, the Bhakti Vedantist who came to his house, and he was the son of a maid servant. Anybody knows how Narad Muni became the son of a maid servant? Why he became a son of a maid servant? He got cursed actually. No? Don't know. So Narad Muni actually was the son of Brahma, no? So Brahma actually asked him to create progenies, like for the next generations. The Narad Muni is like, no. And then Brahma said, okay, in the spiritual world, what happens? You fall to the heavenly planet. So he became a Gandharva in heavenly planet. And Gandharvas, they play mridangas when the Apsaras are dancing. So he was playing mridanga when the Apsaras are dancing, and one of the Apsaras distracted him. So he got distracted by one of the Apsaras when he was a Gandharva. And there he was again first to become a son of a maid servant in the earth. Material world. And he came as the son of a maid servant. And when he was in the son of a maid servant, Bhakti Vedantas, that is pure devotees, they came during the Chaturmasya time. That is the 4 months rainy season. They don't travel anywhere. They stay in one place. So Narad Muni, as a small boy, son of maid servant, he used to supply them prasadam, and he used to take their remnants, eat the remnants. He used to serve them. He used to hear Krishna Katha from them. So by serving great devotees, Yan Mahat Sevaya Vipra, then what happens? His Vasudeva Katha, which increased this hearing. Then slowly the Bhaktivedantist went, and by then he became a nice devotee. But his mother was the only obstacle in his life. He could not go anywhere to preach because his mother. Later on, his mother died, and that was again a blessing by the Lord, that this son of the maid servant, he started preaching Krishna consciousness. And by the association of that sadhu sanghas, then he again became Narad Muni again. So this is the the glory of associating with devotees. And it's dharmyam, it's perfection of religion, or the highest goal of all religion. Because it says in Bhagavatam, Savai Pumsa Parodharmo Yedo Bhaktir Adokshitim. The supreme occupational dharma for all humanity is that by which man can attain to loving devotional service and to the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfying the self. And also says, Vedeshi Yatneshu Tapassu Chaiva Adaneshu Yat Punya Phalam Pradishtam Atyeti Tat Sarvamidam Viditva Yogi Paramsthanam Upeti Charyam. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme abode. So what is the potential devotional service? It's so potent, not perform religious process, but can raise just by associating with great acharyas. Has never studied, familiar with all knowledge necessary. Okay, so we know the story of Narad Muni, what happened. So it's Susukam Kartama, it's very easily performed. The process of devotional service is very happy one. There's a positive engagement of the senses. So one can simply hear the chanting of the so it's Susukam Kartamaviyam. That means the process is very happy one. It's positive, right? And by sitting, one can learn of the food offered to the God, nice palatable dishes. In every state, devotional services join. So, example, the great sage like Kumaras telling to the Lord. When did this happen? No, the son of Kumara smelling the which incident is yes, when did the Sanat Kumaras meet Vishnu? Yes,
When they were 4 years old, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. When they were 4 years old, they met.
Nobody knows. When they were
4 years old. 4 years.
four,
When the
yeah, but
doorkeeper-
when was
When the doorkeepers,
Ah.
Jaya and Vijaya, stopped them
Very good.
from approaching.
Very good. Yeah, Suma Mataji. So when the four Kumaras wanted to meet Vishnu and they passed all the 6 gates of Vaikuntha and reached on the 7th gate, there was the Jaya Vijaya standing, stopped them because these 4 Kumaras, Sanat, and all these Kumaras, they cursed themselves to become young Brahmin boys and they were naked and Jaya Vijaya didn't know who they were. They stopped him and then they were about to get cursed to become Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravan, Kumbhakarna, Shishupal, Dandavakra. And by then, Lord Vishnu came out. And that time, Sanat Kumaras saw Vishnu for the first time. They were Brahmavadis before that. And then they became pure devotees just by smelling the tulsi offered to the Lord's lotus feet. In every state, devotional service is joyful. One can execute devotional service even in the most poverty-stricken condition. Prabhupada mentions here in this purport, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati Tadaham Bhakti Upadham Asnami Predakmanaha. Prabhupada says, Krishna says, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or a water, if you offer with love and devotion, Krishna accepts. In that purport, Prabhupada is right. Even if you are the poorest of poor, there is water available in every house. No, you can give little water to Krishna. It's toyam. Any person can worship Krishna because Krishna doesn't see whether you have offered him chipped rice or poha or you have offered him a biryani. He doesn't see all that. He's Bhavagrahi Janardans, right? He sees the bhav with which we offered. And it's avyayam. It's eternally existing. It refutes the Mayavadi conception. They say that as long as they are not liberated, yes, right, Prabhu?
Mataji, I have a doubt. If they were not Vishnu Bhaktas or Krishna Bhaktas, how did they reach Vishnu Loka? Because there is a...
Yeah, they reach by the door. They were in the door. By the mystic siddhis, Prabhupada mentions in the purport of Bhagavatam, the 4 Kumaras went to Vaikuntha Loka by Ashta Siddhis. You know how Durvasa Muni reached Vaikuntha when Ambarish Maharaj, the Sudarshan Chakra was coming, remember? How did Durvasa Muni go to Vaikuntha? That was Siddhi, Ashta Siddhi. They can become lighter than the lightest, heavier than the heaviest, smaller than the smallest. No, they can go. But we should know one thing, they didn't enter Vaikuntha. The 4 Kumaras were in the door, the 7th door, Dwara, where Jaya Vijaya stopped them, right? Only a devotee can enter into the Vaikuntha. Durvasa Muni went, but then he had to come back. He could not stay there. Understood, Prabhu?
Mataji, when you are saying the doors, there are 7 layers basically between the spiritual world and the material world. They are like
not that.
earth, water. Are they the great gates?
No, that is not this door. This is the Dwara, the door of Vaikuntha. The 8 doors it is mentioned. This is what you are saying is earth, water, fire, air, ether. No, that is around the material universe, no?
Yeah, they're the borders basically of the material universe.
Yes, Prabhu.
They are actually separating
Spiritual
material
world
world
and
and spiritual
yes,
world.
yes, that's separating. So only a devotee. So that's a difference. A Mayavadi can enter into the courtyard, but of the kingdom, but a devotee only can enter into the palace. That's a difference. Entering into the courtyard and the palace is different. It looks like they got liberated, but they didn't. They'll come back. Okay, so Prabhupada quotes in the purport, Brahma Bodha Prasannatma Nashochati Nakangshati Samasarveshu Bhudeshu Madbhakti Labate Param. One who's thus transcendently situated at once realizes his supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service to Krishna. And only by devotional service can you understand Krishna. Right? Evam prasanna manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogadaha Bhagavad Tattva Vijnana Mukta Sangasya Jayate. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, a man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service of the Lord gained positive scientific knowledge of the personality God in the stage of liberation from all material associations. This chapter is purely about Bhakti. This is the middle chapter, and then Krishna mentions more about devotional service in this chapter. So what are the two qualifications Krishna says to hear the transcendental knowledge?
Faith and non-enviousness.
Faith and non-envious, yes. That's the only two qualifications required to do devotional service. So in the 9.3 he says, Ashraddha dhana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartande mrityu samsara vartmani. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in the material world. So if we are not faithful, so there was a song that Nityananda Prabhu is selling Harinam, and only a price you have to pay is faith. You have to have faith. Ado Shraddha. That's the first step. Na? Shraddha Sadhu Sangha. If you don't have faith in the process. Someone was asking me, Mataji, we are chanting Hare Krishna. How do we know that we are going to go back to Krishna? That faith should come. Because Srila Prabhupada, pure devotee and Acharya have promised us. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself has come and given us Harer Nama Iva Kevalam. Still we doubt. Krishna himself has come and told us, right? We have to chant the holy name. Harer Nama Iva Kevalam. Kirtaniya Sada Hari. So he have said to chant the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. And then that process will work. We should have faith in the process. Do any one of us get into the flight and ask the pilot, will this flight take me to that particular destination, America or wherever? Do we question the airlines? Do we question the pilots? We have faith in them. Yes, they are going to take us to the destination. Similarly, we are all in this transcendental boat of Krishna consciousness, and we have a spiritual master as a boatman, and the Vedas, everything is favoring. So why don't we have just faith? So if we are faithless, then the path is difficult. Even after hearing about Krishna and excellence of devotional service, they think it to be simply eulogy, even if supposedly engaging in devotional service. Their faith with very little hope of perfection, destiny of faithless, return to the path of birth and death. You know this placebo therapy? Does anyone know placebo? Did you hear about placebo therapy? Anyone from medical background? Have you heard about it? What is it?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
It is administering a drug which may not be really having the potencies.
Yeah.
Or some fake medicine.
Yeah.
Giving the impression that it cures.
Yes. So it's basically given for functional people. Functional in the sense, they don't have any disease, but they say they have disease. Oh, I have that back pain, I have headache, I have that, this. They always want medicine. They always want some care from people. So that's functional. When we start testing them, all the blood tests, everything will be normal for that person. But that person will be like, no, I am not well. I'm not well. I want medicine. I want a doctor. I want medicine. Especially this old age, they do that. I'm not feeling well. I'm not feeling well. So those days, those times, we can't give the actual medicine because that person is perfectly all right. But the problem is here in the mind. So what do? The placebo therapy. Instead, we give some sugar candies, something They say it's glucose, but it's not glucose. It will be normal saline, normal distilled water. Something you just take them to the hospital and you say to doctors, no, that unless you give some medicine, and it will be nothing. That will be just a sugar candy or sugar, no medicine in it. But after taking that, they'll tell, oh, my disease is gone. That is placebo therapy. Empty tablets, yeah. So it's like they give like that without prescription and all they give. So because they don't have faith, they put faith in if they have faith, they put faith in the placebo therapy, it works. So even if it's not a medicine, if you put faith, the thing works. And if it's real paracetamol, and if you don't have faith in paracetamol, still it works. No, even if you know the drug or not, you don't have faith. So even if you have faith or not in the holy name, still it works, but not as perfectly as so advancement is difficult for them. So expected conclusion after reading Bhagavad Gita is give up all other engagement and adopt the service of the Lord with full faith. So the next section is about the Aishwarya Jnana, that's Krishna's relationship with this world. That's from 9.4 to 10. Krishna has complete his glorification of the most confidential knowledge he will speak. And in the coming up verses 9.4 to 10, he begins to describe his own achintya beda abeda tattvam, that is simultaneously oneness and difference in the relationship with the material world. So that means simultaneously we are one with the Lord in what? What is this oneness? How are we one with the Lord?
In quality. In quality, Mataji.
Quality,
Yes.
very good. In quality. Quantity, we are not, so that is called simultaneous oneness and difference. So Krishna explains the Achintya Veda Tattvam, that is inconceivable oneness and difference and relationship with the material world. This gives us Aishwarya Jnana. So Krishna explains the Achintya Veda Tattva. He gives the Aishwarya Jnana, that is knowledge of his opulence, to stimulate our reverence and devotion. Because of his unique and supreme position in relationship with the material creation, Lord Krishna is the supreme object of worship. 9.4, he says, Maya tadam idam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtinaha matsani sarvabhutani nachaham tesham avastitaha. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Why Krishna is saying like this? Can someone explain? All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Yes? What do you mean by that?
Everything came from him, Mataji, so he's telling it.
Everything comes from Krishna. Okay. Ganeshan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes. Why is Krishna saying this?
I'm not very clear about it.
In the purport, Prabhupada mentions a crude example. What is the crude example Prabhupada mentions in the purport?
Lawmaker and the laws. The laws will not apply for the lawmaker.
Yes. Yes, that is one thing. What is the another example Prabhupada gives here?
The king divides for the purpose of ruling into many departments. His energy and his rules are accepted everywhere, but he can't be present everywhere individually. Yeah.
That means a king have different departments and prime ministers and all them to take care. But the king is personally not present, but then his energy is everywhere. And law and the lawmaker. So he makes the law, but he's not abided by the law, right? So that means Krishna is there everywhere. His energy, right? Bhumi rapona lovayu kammanor buddhi revacha. All this is energy. So Krishna's energy is everywhere. But is Krishna personally present? No, his energies are there. And Krishna is aloof. Is he binded by the three modes of material nature? No. Okay. So it is Jagat Avyakta Murtina. He is all pervading. How is he all pervading? He is Avyakta Murtina. He is in the unmanifested form. Yes, Prabhu?
Mataji, he is also there in us in the form of super soul.
Yes, he is in a form of super soul. We can't perceive it, but then he is there. Yes. And in that way also, he is all pervading. He's there everywhere. He's there in even atom. No, and there is the Paramana and there is the, he's there everywhere. Yes. That's the inconceivable energy of the Lord. So
Then,
yes.
How
Hare
does he
Krishna,
say that? I'm not in them. In fact, he's there in each and every atom.
Yeah, I'm not in them in the sense he is not attached to them or he is not binded by their karma. Understood? He's there in them. He's there as Paramatma, even in the atom. But then whatever we do, is Krishna responsible? No. He is a witness. Whatever is any three modes of material nature affecting him? No. Is any reactions of karma abiding him? Is he attached to us? No. In that way, he is not present in us. Understood?
Okay.
So in that way, Krishna is present. At the same time, Krishna is not present. That's what that Ishopanishad mantra 5 says. Krishna walks, doesn't walk. He's far, he's near. Like that. So this inconceivable spectacle. And see here it says
Like probably the example of Tulsi in the leaf. Tulsi leaves in the lotus leaves in the pond of water.
Yes, like that. Padmapatrami Vamasha, the lotus leaf. Here Prabhupada mentions in the purport about the Bhakti Rasamsindhu sloka, where with our material senses we won't be able to understand Krishna. Other Sri Krishna Namadi, Naba Vedgrahyam Indriye, Sevan Mukhehi Jihvado Swayam Eva Spuratyata. So Lord Krishna's name, fame, quality, pastimes cannot be understood by material senses. Only who is engaged in pure devotional service under proper guidance, Krishna becomes revealed. So Lord is unmanifested to the material senses, but can be perceived with those who are practicing pure devotional services. Prema Jana Chirida Bhakti Vilojanena, Sanda Sadaiva Hrideshu Vilokayandi, Yam Shama Sundaram Achinte Guna Swarupam, Govindamadi Purisham, Brahmaham Vachami. So all beings are in me, meaning everything rests in Krishna. Entire cosmic manifestation is a combination of Krishna's energy, superior spiritual and inferior material energy. Like sunshine is spread all everywhere. All universes are resting in the sunshine. Similarly, all creation is resting in his energy. But Krishna says, I am not in them, implies that Lord by his all-pervasiveness does not lose his personal existence. And refute that since God is all-pervading, he has lost his personal existence. No, Krishna has his personal form also. The king of his energies is manifested. King heads of the government is present in all the department by his energy. Another example is you have your bank account. You don't have to personally go to the bank and withdraw the cash. You can sit at home and do net banking, or you can do a mobile transfer and online transfer. So you have your energy or your power on that account. You may not be personally present there. So similarly, the king doesn't personally have to go. So Krishna might not personally come, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have a personal existence. Okay. And Ekam Shena Sthito Chakat. Krishna is with one single fragment, he's pervading the entire universe. Nacha Matstani Bhutani Pashyami Yogamaishwaram Bhuta Nacha Bhutasto Mamata Bhuta Bhavanaha. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I'm the maintainer of all living entities, and although I'm everywhere, I'm not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is this very source of creation. So Krishna is the source of creation. Yoga Maishwaram. It is said. After explaining in previous texts that all beings rest in him, Lord here says the opposite, that they do not rest in him. This is contradictory, right? He is personally aloof from working of the universe, and that such functions are carried out by his energy. Krishna is not personally doing it. He has different agents to do it, all the demigods and everyone. But then it's by Krishna's sanction they are doing it. So in that way, everything rests in him. But then it is also that Krishna doesn't rest in them. So this is one of the contradictory statements, but this is how you say it, that Krishna is not personally, his energies are distributed. This term describes the inconceivable mystic opulence of the Lord, that everything that is created does not rest in me, not like Atlas tied to the holding the globe. So how Krishna is aloof? Example of Krishna's inconceivable opulence is the planetary systems are floating in the space, and the space is the energy of the Lord, but he's different from the space. Right? Krishna was there in the 16,108 palaces when Narad went to Dwaraka. Krishna is in Golka. Krishna is there in our heart as Paramatma. He's everywhere, right? But his energy is everywhere. Okay, then Supreme Lord is performing inconceivable, wonderful pastings. He's displaying his energy. It's not different between his mind and himself because he is absolute spirit. Prabhupada writes, we may think of doing something. There are so many impediments and sometimes it's not possible to do as we like. But when Krishna wants to do something, simply by his willing, everything is performed so perfectly that one cannot imagine how it's been done. Yada Yakashastito nityam vayu sarvatra go mahan tata sarvani bhutani matstani ubadharaya. Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere, rest always in the sky. All created beings rest in me. The sky is the biggest manifestation to conceive, and in that sky, wind is the biggest to conceive. So wind is great and influences all the moment, but wind is never beyond the sky. It's always subordinate to the sky. This is one of the example that's given. So all wonderful cosmic manifestation exists by the will of the Lord. Still the Lord is aloof, right? As Prabhu said, Prabhu, Krishna is not attached to anyone. He's aloof from everything, like the dry coconut in the dry shell, right? And he's unaffected, just like the sky is aloof and not affected by the movement of wind. So Prabhupada says about the Lord's supreme will as the ultimate control over wonderful material manifestation. Yad Hisha Vada Pavade. It is out of fear of the Supreme Lord that the wind is blowing. That's what it is said. Okay. So Krishna gives analogy to explain the Yoga Maishwaram. He says, Yachakshuresha Savida Sakalagrahanam Raja Samasta Shuramurti Rashesha Teja Nyaya Brahmadi Sambramakala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Rajami. There's a description of movement of the sun. It is said the sun is considered to be one of the eyes of the Supreme Lord and has immense potency to diffuse heat and light. Still, it is moving in a prescribed orbit by the order and the supreme will of Govinda. If Krishna don't want, tomorrow there won't be any sunrise. If Krishna thinks there is no sunrise, if only Krishna wills, I can lift my hand, or we can speak, or we can live, right? Everything, not even a blade of grass moves without Krishna's sanctions. But is Krishna responsible for all our sinful activities and everything? No. Krishna gives you the minute independence. So you can use or misuse it. So he is aloof. Krishna is not responsible of anything, but still Krishna is responsible in the sense he is the sanctioner. Krishna sanctions, but we have a minute independence to do what is right or wrong. Then the reaction comes to us, right? So in that way, Krishna is aloof. Krishna is not bound by any karma. Krishna is not bound by any modes of material nature. Sarva Bhunani Kaunteya Pragatim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punastani Kalpadau Vishrajami Aham. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature. At the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. So once Pralaya happens, our Kali Yuga ends, everything goes inside Krishna. In the universal form, Krishna showed, no? Everybody going inside the mouth of Krishna. And then when again Satyuga starts, everything comes out. Krishna creates everything. So it says Krishna, after explaining his role in maintenance, explains his relations with creation and destruction. Under the will of the Lord, all material manifestations are automatically created and annihilated again and again. Bhuta Bhuta Praliyate. Yes, Prabhu?
Mataji, my understanding is that the Pralaya happens only at the end of 1,000 yugas, 1,000 Mahayugas rather.
There are two pralayas. It can be partial devastation and total devastation.
Yeah, partial devastation happens after 1,000 Mahayugas, and total devastation happens after Brahma's life is over.
Yeah, Brahma's life. Yes.
But then,
Brahma's life.
I mean, after the end of
yes.
Mother, at the end of Kali Yuga also this happens.
And after Kali Yuga, the annihilation happens. But then it's not Pralaya, it's the ending of that Yuga, the 4 Yugas. And then Satyuga again starts. But then all the species will be gone by then. Again, Krishna has to create, no? Creation and destruction keeps happening. Like that. So here it said, under the will of the Supreme Lord, all material manifestations are automatically created and annihilated. So at the end of millennium, meaning at the time of Brahma's death, at that time, all energy is wound out in the Lord himself. And Lord expand himself in the material energy. Prabhupada says about Bahushya, I become many. So that there is a gradual evolution of species from one form to another. All species of life are created immediately along with the universe of the beginning of creation based on the desire and past deeds, karma. Based on the karma, different potencies are created. Sarvabhutani kaunteya prakritim yanti mamikam kalpakshe punastani kalpatao vishujami aham. O son of Kunti, at the end of millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at another millennium, at the beginning of another millennium, I create them again. So what it says. And Krishna is Parishta, he's aloof. Then how does material world continue? Supreme will, by supreme will of the Lord. Everything is definitely under the supreme will of the Lord, but he enters as the three Vishnu form of Mahat Tattva to create. Okay. And Krishna says there is no direct involvement of him. He does not himself create or destroy, but then his energy takes care of it. The material nature acts by his desire, automatically manifested. And creation takes place to accommodate inclinations or desire of the various living entities. Nacha mamtani karmani nibandhanti Dhananjaya udasina vadasinam asaktam teshu karmashu. Oh Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though natural. Okay. So although the Lord creates and annihilates, but all this work cannot bind him. It implies that the Lord is not directly responsible for good or evil done in this world. Krishna is not directly responsible. We are responsible. Implies the Lord is neutral. The Lord is always neutral in the material activities. Material activities is carried out by his different potential. Still, he has control over minute details. The High Court judge giving so many decisions, but he's neutral, no, unaffected with the gain or loss. Spirit Prabhupada quotes from Vedanta Sutra. He says, Lord is transcendental to all material dualities. Based on our past misdeeds, deeds, and desires, we get different forms. Karanam guna sangha asya. And Prabhupada also says, Atma Ramasya tashyati prakritya sa na samatamaha. He is always involved in his eternal blissful spiritual activities, but he has nothing to do with these material activities. Maya Dhyakshena Pragati Suyade Sacharashara Hetunanena Kaundeya Jagat Viparivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, so it's also Krishna's energy, is working under my direction, is working under Krishna's direction of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So without the superintendence of the Lord, material nature cannot do anything. The Lord is neutral and aloof, and he simply sanctions the material energy. Management is done by the material nature on his behalf. The Lord is detached. Right? So there is a relationship between the Lord and the material nature. This Lord is like a father, material nature is like mother. It's Krishna says, Sarva Yonishu Kaunteya Murtaya Sambhavanteya Tasham Brahma Mahat Yonir Aham Bija Pradapita. It should be understood that all species of life are made possible by birth, and Krishna is the seed-giving father. Lord glances, right? But species are decided based on the past deeds and desires. Prabhupada quotes also here. The fragrance of a flower. This is a Bhakti Shastri question. Okay, this analogy. Fragrance of a flower touched by the smelling power of a person. Yet the smelling and the flower is detached. There is a flower and there is a fragrance. But then you go and smell. There is the smelling is different and the flower is flower. Both are detached. No, the smelling and the flower are detached. The fragrance of a flower touched by the smelling person. Similar connection is there between the material world and the Supreme Personality Godhead. There is a flower and the smelling is happening. The fragrance is there, but yet the smelling and the flower is detached. You go to another place, different smell will come. So we have a breakout room here, 5 minutes short. Explain in your own words Krishna's relationship with the material world. With reference to the Sanskrit terms, Prabhupada's purports and analogies from 9.4 to 10. So when you give the answer, you should concentrate on the Sanskrit terms. Okay, I want some Sanskrit terms coming up, and also analogies and the purport. Okay, different analogies Prabhupada mentioned. Just concentrate on 9.4 to 10. Okay, I'll just post it. Okay, so Krishna's relationship with the material world. That's a question. And you should give Sanskrit terms and analogies from Prabhupada's purport. We got it? These two things should be there. We'll have a quick workout room and come back.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Jyoti Lakshmi Mataji.
Seventh shloka, in sixth shloka, that wind blowing, which is very vast, it rests on the sky. So similarly, all created beings rest in me. So here there is an analogy, like though it's very difficult for us to perceive the sky, we think that wind and air is resting in the sky. In the same way, even the cosmic world rests in the Supreme Lord. No, Prabhuji?
Mataji, go ahead, you can start presentation.
Hare Krishna, we are in the main class. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Nachamam Thani. That is also one.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Yes, so
Krishna.
room number 1, Chitra Mataji, Gayatri Mataji, Gurnath Prabhu, Sunita Mataji, ready?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, Mataji, who's going to say?
Hare Krishna Mataji, should I try Mataji? 9.4 Nachagam Daso Astitva Daga Mataji. That is every living being is in me, and also I'm not in them. These are the two.
Yes.
Yes, Mataji. Then 9.5 Matsani Sarva Bhutani. Everything rests in me, Mataji.
Okay.
Bhuta Brit and Bhuta Bhavana, that is also there. All the material living entities are, I am the source of all manifestation. And Bhutasthani, that is the Bhuta Sarvani. All creations are situated in me. Mataji, since 9.4 onwards, it is all about the Aishwarya. That is, we may also take Yogam Aishwaryam. That also can be taken, Mataji.
Okay.
Then 9.6 and 7, mostly, Mataji, everything is about Sarva Bhutani. All created beings are in me. Right, Mataji? Both the shloka Sarva Bhutani. In 6th, Sarvani Bhutani Mastani, and in 7th, Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya Prakriti. That is, at the in the Mataji, two more words also we can take. That is Kalpa Adho and Kalpa Chaya. At the end of the millennium and in the beginning of the millennium. Kalpa Adho and Kalpa Chaya.
Fine. Okay.
Correct.
Room number 2. Viju Prabhu, Madhuri Mataji, Ganeshan Prabhu,
Hare
Raj
Krishna.
Venaji Mataji, Sumana Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Biju Prabhu.
We've not taken much note of it, but then two of them, one is Avyakta Murtina, that is unmanifested form. And the analogy given here is the king who heads a government, he himself is not present in each of the department, but it is his energy through which it has been controlled. That is one thing. Then Yogam Aishwaram, inconceivable mystic power, which again is replicated in the planetary system, which are floating in the space. And this is nothing but the Lord's, Supreme Lord's energy.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Room number 3. Akshay Prabhu, Chinnaswamy Ganesan Prabhu.
Madhu Mataji.
Yes. Mataji, first of all, Avyakta Murtina means that is, he, for us, it is in the unmanifest. We cannot perceive all his manifestations. And then, Matstani Sarva Bhutani Na Chaham Teshvastitaha. So, all beings are in me, but I am not in them. So, it is the analogy given is a king. The king makes all the departments, but he is not in any department. And even the lawmaker role also. And in the 5th shloka, it is given Bhuta Brahna Bhutasto Mamatma Bhuta Bhavanaha. That means, though I am the maintainer of all this cosmic manifestation, I am not in this creation. So this is what is given. So, like again, the same, though the lawmaker analogy can be taken, Mataji. And in the 6th shloka, they have told like it's very difficult for us to perceive that the whole cosmic manifestation is belonging to Krishna. Like it's very difficult for us to perceive the whole sky where the wind and air is resting. Similarly, the same analogy holds good. Like all the living beings are seated in Krishna. So the analogy of wind resting on the sky is given in 6th shloka. And in the 7th shloka, the repetition of the yugas is given, Mataji, like the annihilation and I create them again and again. So that is Kalpadu Vishrijami Aham. So like after every Kalpa, millennium after millennium, he is the creator and he is the one who he is responsible for the annihilation also. And then in the 8th shloka, also the same thing, cosmic order is under me. So Bhuta Grindam Imam Krishnam Avasam Prakriter Vasat. And then one more in the 10th shloka, so he is told that under his rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Etu nanena kaunteya jagat vipariya vartate. So comes and goes, vipariya vartate. So that is one.
One more, Mataji, here, 9.9. Udasina Vadasina. Namaste. Te
I'm
Shubham.
detached. I'm ever detached from all.
Yes. Okay. So I'm happy, like at least room number 3, you gave all the analogies. But room number 1 and 2, they forgot to mention analogies. They were concentrating on the Sanskrit verses, right? So don't miss that point. So like when it is asked Sanskrit terms, analogies from Prabhupada's purport, you should do give both. Not only the verses, the analogies also should be mentioned. At least some, like how the sunshine, and the king, and a little, at least 1 or 2 analogies have to be mentioned. Okay, fine. So this is fine. The open book question is ready, but I need the Google form.